Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome to episode 3 of the IAG Live Streaming Show. And I'm coming at you from Newport World Resorts right here in Manila. Flew in late last night, and I see we've already got Ben Blashke, Managing Editor of IAG, already up there. Hi, Ben, you're in Sydney?
I am, yeah, Andrew, here in Sydney, and I think travelling to Melbourne in a couple of weeks' time for a few days. But other than that, just the next big trip will be to where you are right now.
Yeah, very good. Yes, we'll both be in Melbourne in the same place at the same time. Week after next, after we go to AGE, I'll be heading down to Australia to Sydney for AGE next week. I'll be heading down on the weekend. We've got AGE and next week, and then the week after, a week in Melbourne for me. And I know you're going to join me down there in Crown Melbourne. It'll be good to see the guys down there. And then, of course, our big IAG Expo is the next event on the calendar, September 8 to 10. And as always, we have our intrepid live studio producer, Oscar Guiaro, who's enjoying the summer in Spain. Are you there, Oscar? There you are.
Here I am.
So how's the week in Spain been?
Fantastic. A little bit hotter than last one, but we're in summer.
Even hotter. Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for helping us out today, Oscar. We'll see you next week.
See you.
Ciao. All right. Well, it's been a huge week in gaming news. Absolutely massive. We've been worked off our. I won't say what we've been worked off, but we've been worked off something, and it's been a really big week. So much so we've actually got 15 stories to talk to you about, but we're just going to go lightning round on them, or otherwise this stream will be too long. It really has been a big week. You've been busy, Ben, haven't you?
Yeah, Andrew, plenty happening. It's interesting how the news cycle works, and some weeks it can be fairly quiet in terms of big news story. This week just happened to be a big one, I guess coinciding with earnings season as well, so it makes
right. Yeah. Yeah, all earnings are always busy, and then if you get a lot of other news as well on top of earnings, which there has been this week, you end up with a crazy week. So anyway, let's lightning round these 15 stories we picked out during the week. So starting off with Macau GGR up, that's been a growth story. Macau, everyone was talking about Macau GGR had flattened out, but no, it's growing up to 22 billion MOP there in July, which is a run rate of US $33 billion a year. Pretty amazing. I don't think there's much more to be said about that. Let's move on. just the headline figure was the big thing. Oh, well, this was big news. I think it was it Friday last? Yeah, I think it was Friday last week. Ben, this is in your wheelhouse, this Star stuff. Tell us what's been going on.
I guess the writing was on the wall for this deal. Of course, there were talks between Star and its two Hong Kong partners, Chow Tai Fook and Far East Consortium, about those two partners potentially acquiring Star's 50% share in Queen's Wharf in Brisbane. No relation to Star. No talk of taking over Star's stake in Sydney or Gold Coast or anything like that. But this is specifically related to the Star Brisbane. Those talks ultimately fell apart. I guess a difference of opinion on some key matters around that. And I guess the question now is, what does that mean for Star? Obviously, Star's had its own financial challenges, well publicised over the past few years. It's got a $300 million rescue package involving Bally's Corp in the US, which is very close to being fully implemented. So I guess the question is, what impact will this have on Star? They do have to pay a little bit of money back to their partners that was advanced when the heads of agreement was first agreed. Yeah, a little under, million, I think, around 30, mid-30s, 35 million, something like that. They have to pay back. Star did say in our announcement they've got around 260 million in the bank at the moment, thanks to that Bally's deal. So they got.
That shows you that they got 300 million, and that was maybe 40 days ago, and they're losing $1 million a day in cash flow. So that shows you they were really at zero when they got the 300 million. Yeah. Anyway, look. We're lightning rounding this, Ben. So let's just move on. I mean, we've done a lot on Star, and I think the moral of the story here is that Sue Kim's probably itching to get in there, but waiting for the regulator to give him approval. Movement at the station at Resorts World Sentosa last week after the departure of long-time leader, let's say, ultimately CEO in the end, Tan He-Tek. So He-Tek is gone, and now we've got a new Resorts World Sentosa CEO, now being named COO of Genting Singapore. So she's got big shoes to fill, and hopefully we can have a chat with her at some point. When we haven't had time to do that yet, but we will in due course. So good luck to Resorts World Sentosa. They're going through all those renovations at the moment. All right, what's the next one, Oscar? Oh yeah, great week for Melco. City of Dreams opening. City of Dreams Sri Lanka there at the Cinnamon Life event.
Yeah, big grand opening celebration last Saturday. I think for Melco, this is an interesting one. It's mainly an operational deal. They didn't develop the integrated resort itself. They did spend around 125 million US on fitting out the casino. They'll be operating the casino there, the newer hotel, luxury hotel, around 113 suites from memory, and a bit of retail. So, interesting opportunity for Melco. And as Lawrence Ho said at the time, trying to make this property to the Indian market what Macau is to the Chinese market. So, good luck to Melco in that venture.
Yeah, I would have loved to get over there, but it's just way too busy. But at some point, I will. Actually spoke to Lawrence briefly during the week, and he obviously invited us over for a look. And I would love to do that as part of a wider South Asia tour. Actually, I'd love to get up to Nepal, and which you've been to, Ben, and just also Goa and do a bit of a South Asia tour. Maybe 2026. Let's see. Okay, next one, Oscar. Right. Well, this was following on from last week where we said the President Bongbong Marcos, he didn't bring up the online gaming issue at his State of the Nation address, which was widely viewed as a positive. There were talks that it may even be banned, like the previous year he banned pogos. They weren't. And in fact, now the government's saying they will take a considered approach, won't act in haste. So that's code for, hey, we're not gonna jump to ban this. So hopefully we're not going to ban this at all. And of course, we'll have some tighter restrictions on that. And I think Chairman Tengo's come out and said that there ought to be some tighter restrictions, tighter advertising restrictions, not so visible in places out of home, in billboards where children might see. And so I think that's a good thing for the Philippines gaming industry, that wiser heads have seemed to be prevailing, because of course a ban will just lead to it going underground, and we'll be back to criminals running this. Anything from you
No,
on that,
I agree,
Ben?
Andrew. I mean, we've often said we prefer regulated markets to prohibition in any cases, and it's good to say. I think there's a general consensus among most industry players that yes, there are some tighter regulations needed. This is a fairly new industry in the Philippines. It's booming very, very quickly, but it's good to see the government taking a common sense approach to this.
Yeah, we have that story last week that half of Philippine GGR is now some form of online gaming. So it is booming and it is new. And when something's new, often things are not quite right at the start, and you have to make adjustments. So we wish the Philippines, where I am now, the best of luck and all that. All right, next one. Still in the Philippines, really interesting. Dae Sik Han, our friend up there, the leader of Han Resorts, did a TV interview on a channel called One News. Quite a lengthy one. I think I watched it. It was about 40 minutes. And Ben, you watched it in detail, and we drew this story from that interview and what he had to say about his IPO. He's doing this. Is it $200 million IPO?
Yeah, just over $200 million IPO. And very interesting to hear Mr. Han talk about his reasoning for doing this. Of course, he considered he could have not gone public. He could have maintained 100% ownership in his company. But his reasoning, of course, is that by having the IPO, bringing on some other investors, he can sort of guarantee that he can move forward at pace with his current developments. Of course, he's doing an expansion of the existing Han Casino Resort. More importantly, he's got the Han Reserve new development happening, multi-billion-dollar development over many years. But I think phase one is due to open next year, possibly, maybe the year after. So he wants to just keep that moving forward, which is the whole idea behind this IPO.
I was up there a few months ago staying at the Swiss Hotel, and out the back, of course, they're building that new area out the back, which is not Han Reserve. It's just an extension to the casino because they just need more floor space, because you go there even of a weekday evening and it's pumping. It's really pumping. And I believe there's still about 50% of all Clark combined. 50% is Han.
Yeah, it's a great spot, Andrew. I mean, as I say, we've been up there a number of times. I really enjoy going to Han. I think it's, as you say, it's got a great beer in there. It's lively. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think, Mr. Dennis Andriachi, who runs the casino floor there, has said, go there on a Friday and Saturday night. You can't get on a machine. So, building more space is essential, really.
Mm-hmm. Nice problem to have. All right, let's move on. Oscar, what's next? Oh, this is an interesting one. At long last, I think, haven't we got a story in this month's mag, Better Late Than Never or something? Or I heard Better Late Than Never somewhere. Vietnam, looking at, you had been reporting, Ben, that Vietnam, there were rumors that they were going to scrap the locals only requirement in some way, probably not a complete scrapping, but this seems to be a sensible compromise, an entry fee rather than all those crazy hoops that locals had to jump through before to be able to play the casino.
I think there's more news to come too around this whole Vietnam locals issue, Andrew. There's talk of more to come. As I said, it won't be a complete, open the doors everywhere across Vietnam. But this is an interesting one because what they did find during previous trials is that having a financial means requirement to enter the casino was too complicated for people. You needed all sorts of paperwork. So a simplification of that means test would be an entry fee. Basically, the same. If you can afford the entry fee, then you've probably got the means to enter.
Yeah, and it worked successfully in Singapore. Obviously, the industry would prefer no entry fee at all. But if it's an entry fee versus nothing, it's been proven in Singapore that can work, and I think it can work in Vietnam too. Actually, there's a significant population of Viet Q, as they call them, Vietnamese who have some sort of connection to another country, so they could come in carte blanche, and then getting the locals in as well is obviously something that's really needed to have a thriving casino in Asia. All right, well, let's move on. Oscar, what's next? Yeah, our friends at Light and Wonder, they've been doing well in the last few years, haven't they, under the new leadership? Some controversies there with Aristocrat, but they've been doing very well. But here's a quarter finally where the revenue actually did go down, but yet they reported better profits, obviously cutting costs and maintaining good cost control. So that's a different approach for them because they've been very outward looking and very aggressive. Ben, you wrote this one up. Any comments from you on their
Yeah, I think
results?
really just that's a reaction to macroeconomic conditions. So there's some tariff impact there. They did say a little bit more caution from some of their Asian customers, but generally they were quite positive moving forward on the way they're tracking. And I think one of the things they did say is that they expect their results to accelerate through the second half of the year. So they're still quite confident in what the future lies.
Well, they've got that 1.4 billion EBITDA target they've set themselves. I think, is that by the end of next year or by the end of this year? It's becoming pretty close.
I'm not. It's a little complicated now with the Grover Gaming acquisition on how they bring that in, but they've certainly still got that target, and I think they've got a 2 billion target for 26, 27.
Yeah, they upped it again. I mean, it's good to see them being so aggressive and so forward. It's good to see a company doing that. So, that's what you want out of a company. And I think we've got another story. I think, Oscar, the next one might be them saying they're going to solely list on the ASX. Yes, it is. Ben, give us a bit on this.
There wasn't a whole heap of detail about the full reasoning behind it, other than outlining the fact that I think they said the Australian market at the moment, or their Australian listing, currently account for around 37% of their equity. I guess that'll be 100% by December. They're targeting to delist from the NASDAQ in November.
Right.
So, interesting. And I think the general reasoning was just around the fact that they think they'll be able to generate greater value by the sole listing in Australia.
Well, of course, their DNA sort of is from Australia a little bit. If you go back, I mean, there's been a lot of M&A activity in what we now call Light and Wonder over the years. But if you go back to Shuffle Master and sort of earlier, obviously there's US companies in there as well, and WMS and so forth, but into the mix. And they were Scientific Games, and then they became Light and Wonder. So it's been quite an evolution for that company. But they only just went onto the Aussie exchange a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, I think it was. So for them to be up to 37% already is huge. And of course, at the time, I remember we interviewed Matt Wilson. We had Matt Wilson on the cover of IAG. And our discussion then was around, there's a unique phenomenon in Australia. There's an incredible amount of superannuation money in Australia. The government requires compulsory superannuation from every worker. I think it's 12% or something now, isn't it? I remember when I was living in Australia, it was ramping up 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%. For the Americans, that's a bit like a 401k. And that money has to be invested in Australia. So there are these fund managers managing all of that superannuation money set aside, and they're desperately looking for places to invest. So that was a bit of why they went to the Aussie exchange, because they could get access to that kind of fund, those kind of funds. So, interesting to see it going solely Australian. Nothing wrong with going solely Australian.
Right. I mean, they've got very Australian leadership. Matt's Australian, Jamie Adele. It's quite an Australian company for a US company.
Yep. Yeah, for a US company, it's full of Australians, and of course Ken Jolly here in Asia, leading the charge. One of the most well-known slots guys getting around. All right, next one. Enrique Razon. Gee, he was nearly number one, wasn't he? They named him number two. Forbes, they named him the second richest man in the Philippines with, I believe it was US $11.2 billion fortune. Wow, that's a ferocious amount of money, isn't it? And I think number one was the Tsai family, the Tsai siblings, with 11.8 billion. So Ricky's, I should say Mr. Razon Jr., should be polite, but Enrique Razon, he's done a great job there at Solaire, and it's really interesting, the whole story there. And yes, they've had a change in the guard at Solaire with Greg Hawkins now in charge, and there are some bumps in the Philippines at the moment, but I think they're just bumps. I think longer term, the Philippines is still a great success story. It's been a great success story for him. And of course, his fortune is not just comprised of his casino
assets.
Right.
He's got his container, his terminal business there, which is where his vast fortune has really been acquired. But through that fortune is, where he saw the opportunity to invest in casino gaming. He was foundational in Manila there with Solaire. Expanded up to Quezon City,
yes,
and plans for a third one, of course, down south when the time is right, in the not too distant future. So, certainly it's been groundbreaking for the Philippines. And when you go to Solaire, of course, it's renowned for being the market leader traditionally.
He might not like me saying this, but in some respects, and only in some respects, he's the sort of the Sands of the Philippines in a way, because they were there uniquely alone in Entertainment City. I remember when Solaire was there, and it reminded me a little bit of when Venetian was there in Cotai, just standing alone, all by itself, like a UFO had landed in the middle of a field or something. So good luck to Mr. Razon. Okay, so next one. Well, at the other end of the spectrum here, we've got Byron Yip has departed as Okada President and COO. He'll be replaced by Universal's Nabuki Sato. So Sato's son has a job to do. He has been, Sato's son has been on the board of the entity that holds Okada Manila for some time, for a few years. I had some words to say last week about the woes going on at Okada Manila at the moment. We've actually known about Byron's departure for 3 or 4 weeks now, and didn't report on it because I think it's part of a wider story on Okada Manila. I think there's a lot going on that's from a professional industry point of view, commentating on the industry. That is a very interesting story about what's going on over there, possibly an opportunity one day. So let's see what happens. Say a wider story to be told, what's going on over at Okada Manila at the moment. There is a lot going on, but perhaps we'll have more to say about that next week or at a later date. All right, so let's move on, Oscar. Back to Resorts World Sentosa. So they are doing that work, but it has disrupted their offering a little bit.
Yeah, it was actually quite a disappointing quarter for Sentosa. I was just looking through some of the analyst notes just prior to coming on air here, and it really was actually very, very poor by Sentosa's standards in terms of market share, revenues, profitability. And of course, part of that is due to the ongoing works, of course. And of course, it's got a pretty tough comparison with the record numbers that Marina Bay Sands posted very recently as well, which it sort of didn't help. Sentosa is just in the process of building its RWS 2.0. A lot of work to do there. It's still got hotel rooms offline. So there's work's going on. It's gradually opened a couple of facilities, the Oceanarium, the new retail outlet, Weave, I believe, opened very, very recently. But yes, it's a bit of a challenging time. I think, again, the hope is that the second half of this year will be better for Sentosa.
Look, it's interesting, Resorts World Sentosa. People sort of are very quick to criticise that property and compare it to Marina Bay Sands. But I think that there's a deeper story there, because they do have quite an opportunity with their property. Clearly, the Singapore market is a very viable market. Just look at Marina Bay Sands. So there's nothing wrong with the market. They've got an interesting property which can be quite easily differentiated from MBS. MBS is 3 massive towers with a surfboard on top. Of course, that's a massive oversimplification, but you get the idea. Whereas Resorts World Sentosa is sort of a splayed property, a broad property over an island with probably a lot of family resort style potential. So I don't think it's ever really lived up to what it could be, and I think it does have great potential. Sentosa probably needs a few changes, but maybe this RWS 2.0 is it.
Yeah, and I think there'd be a lot of properties around the region that wouldn't mind having that sort of bad quarter. 313 million in gaming revenues. A lot of people would be pretty happy with that.
That's a fair call. Yep. All right, let's move on. Next one. Yeah, just a little story here following MGM China's great results last week. They've lived up to their 50% dividend payout policy. Just another good news story for MGM China, really. Just saying, well, here we go. We're paying a dividend. The investors are happy. And I think that's there's not much more to say about that. It's just a little story we threw in just to highlight how well MGM China is doing. They're right up there now as third or equal third in the white hot uber competitive Macau industry right now. Extremely competitive. It was always going to get competitive, but we're there now, and it's very, very competitive. So MGM China done well. extra tables, but big changes as well, or big changes to their gaming floors, big management changes, and it's been a great result for them. I think we'll just move on past that one. I think we've done that story a bit. Wynn results came out. Tell us about this, Ben. This was yesterday. Wynn results came out, didn't they?
Our time, Macau time.
Oh, this morning, right.
Look,
yes,
it was largely in line with what was expected. Also largely in line with the same period last year in terms of revenues. I think VIP hold was a little low, which sort of hurt the numbers. I guess it's it didn't overwhelm, it didn't underwhelm for Wynn. I think the VIP holds hurt Wynn Palace more than anything, their flagship property. But yeah, mainly there's a little bit of news about what's ahead. Really, the numbers themselves were about what people expected.
Well, I mean, echoing your comments on Resorts World Sentosa, if you do 883 million a quarter and that's just a so-so quarter, then you're doing well. So that's Macau for you. It just shows how different Macau is compared to Singapore, compared to the Philippines. We're really talking numbers in the ones and twos and then threes and fours. In Macau, we're talking numbers in the 800s, 900s, billions in a quarter. So it's a big difference. Next one, Oscar, I think might be what Ben was alluding to. Yes, it is. Ben. So we're going to see some work going on.
Yeah,
now.
so they spoke about the fact there's some significant capex projects coming up. In fact, there's a couple underway now. So they're currently expanding their very high-end gaming areas at Wynn Palace. They're refreshing their hotel rooms over at Wynn Macau on the peninsula. But the big one really is the development of an event centre. They've been talking about that on and off for a number of years now. When even pre-COVID, they spoke about sort of the phase 2 of Wynn Palace there. Well, the event centre now is, according to Craig Billing, the CEO of Wynn Resorts, said very advanced now in design and preparations, pretty much just awaiting on government final approvals to start on that. And of course, it's a great time to look at things like event centres because we've got this situation happening in Macau now where concerts, events, large-scale events are really driving high-quality customers to Macau, really helping the gaming revenues there. Wynn obviously wants to get in and be part of that.
Yeah, I mean, particularly Galaxy with their new arena have been experiencing a lot of that. So it's a real sort of time where the non-gaming is actually driving gaming revenue, certainly in that concert space and entertainment space anyway. There's been talk about that for many years, but now it's actually happening. So that's great to see. That the last one, is it, Oscar, or have we got another one? I can't remember. Looks like that's the last one. So, yes, we're here I'm here in Manila. You're there in Sydney, Ben. As I said at the beginning, I'm down to Sydney over the weekend, and then we'll see each other in Sydney at AGE. I'll be staying at Crown Sydney. Beautiful property, absolutely gorgeous, and I'll be there next Friday. So you'll see me from Crown Sydney next Friday morning, and maybe I can try and get a nice view in the background of them. Because the views there are absolutely incredible. And then after AGE in Sydney next week, it's a week in Melbourne for me. You're coming down to join. Ben, we'll have a couple of days in Melbourne together.
To it. It's there's a lot of hard work has gone into Crown Melbourne over the years. Of course, they're suitable again. They can focus on the job at hand. That's been the case for a while.
Yes,
and
yes.
The team has promised to sort of show us some of the fruits of their labour. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to say suitable for all three parts of Crown Sydney, Crown Melbourne, and Crown Perth. So congratulations to them. I think the foil between Crown and Star could not be starker. They were both probably started off in the same position some years ago with all those inquiries and all that bad news and all that drama. And the two companies took two very different approaches to how they were going to respond to all that. And Crown, chiefly under Kieran Carruthers, took a very good route and started not.
I should mention, Andrew, too, that an announcement very recently by Crown Melbourne, they're bringing the Aussie Millions poker series back. For some of our viewers, that may not seem like a big thing, but for Crown, it's actually quite significant. That was a massive part of their annual schedule pre-pandemic, pre the challenging times. So for that to come back is huge. It's a great thing for Crown.
Yeah, it is. You beat me to it. That was the next thing I was going to say. But being a big poker aficionado, you couldn't wait, right? But it's all good. Yeah, look, absolutely, it's fantastic. And congratulations to CEO David Tsai down there and Harold Markless, who's running gaming down there. H is a great guy, and he and his team are going to be showing us around. Dan down there, who's managing the poker room and managing that process. I believe they're running satellites already, or very soon will be running their very first satellite for the Aussie Millions. So the Aussie Millions in, I think, is it April next year? It's around April. It is April. April, May, yeah, 18 events. It's going to be great. So, and it hasn't been around, as you say, it was huge. I used to play it every year. I think it hasn't been run since maybe 2018, 2019, something like that. 2020 was it? So yeah, well, 5 years. It'll be 6 by the time we actually get there. 6 years without the Aussie Millions, and the Aussie Millions really is one of those events that are loved. Well, was loved around the world as a poker tournament. Quite a unique format. Played 6-handed for the last 36, things like that. 10,600 main entry. Great event. So we wish them well, and I guess we'll have more to say on that as we get closer and closer. And that's a great marketing opportunity for Crown, because there's an exemption on the hours limitation as well, and also poker being a little bit less hardcore, I think, in the eyes of people as gaming is a great way to market as well. Yeah. Any more from you, Ben? What's your weekend like?
My weekend will be I'll take the opportunity to relax for a couple of days, because the next few weeks really start to get a bit hectic. What? So from Monday we'll be at IAG, and I'll look forward to IAG Expo in early September.
Great. All right. Well, we will, by the way, in future editions have audience comments as well. We're going to have comments on the IAG live streaming, so we're just testing that a little bit, and I think in the next week or two you'll start to see that come through as well. And we got a lot of views of the stream after the stream went to air, so I expect that to happen again this week. And all right, well, it's bye from me from Manila.
Yep,
and
bye
Ben.
from Sydney.
Very good. We'll see you all next week. Bye for now.